Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome today to Thought for the Day. And I've called this Knots. While I've been sorting out my mama's jewellery and things like that, I came across a load of jewellery that was all knotted up. Now, this is just an example. As us ladies know, we normally get this with our jewellery. How it works, I do not know. And it takes ages if there's knots and things and all sorts. It takes ages and ages, just these little tiny knots that we see, ages and ages to do it. And the same with string, but these days we have these fangled things with string, which is great. But years and years ago I used to unknot loads and loads of string, especially at the farm, because it used to get ravelled from the bales of hay. And I just used to untie it, and I spent hours. And as I was sorting out my mama's jewellery, there was 4 necklaces, and they were all joined together in knots, little knots, very fine, fine chains, extremely so fine that you were frightened you were going to break them. I sat there and looked at them, and just first thought, I can't unwind these. They're going to break. It's going to destroy them. And as they are so precious, although they were only silver and alloy and a bit of gold, but not much worth. But to me, there was a lot of worth in it because it had been my mama's. And then I sat and looked at them, and I just very gently picked them up. And I looked and I looked and I looked, a little bit like when you're looking for something, you look all over the place. And I just looked at it, and I thought, I can do this, but I have to do it slowly. I've got time. I'm in isolation, so definitely got time to do it. So let's start. And so gradually I just took one chain. First of all, I looked and I took the littlest chain. I thought, if I can get the littlest chain out, it won't break. And I'll be able to get that out and then get all the others out. Then as I looked, I could see that this chain was wound up, a little bit like this, but it was worse than this. But this chain was all wound up with all the others here. And they were just, and the big chain, this massive chain, just would not budge. It wouldn't let the little ones come out. And so, again, I just stopped and looked. Now, in my younger days, I wouldn't have looked so quick. I'd have just gone and it would have been broken. And then I'd had to mend the chain. And luckily enough, I used to work in a jeweller's, so I'd get the chains mended. But as you get older, you have a little bit more patience. And so gradually, I decided I'd go for the big chain. The big chain was the one that was choking everything up, was twisting everything up, and I'll go for the big chain. As I went for the big chain, it just started to unravel just a little, and then I had to thread it through the chains and twist around, and then there was a little pendant that got stuck because it had claws, and so that all got stuck. And it was just, as I was doing it, I was just thinking about what God does with us. And as I started to make progress and unchain the chain, the big chain, it suddenly started coming loose. And boy, was I excited. I was excited because this massive chain had actually started to move and to come loose. And I was like, oh yes, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And then as I got further and further, suddenly we had a knot, and it was a big knot, and it would not budge. And I thought, well, I'll get the tweezers on it. I'll try and do it that way. And I thought, no, I won't. I'll just gently untwist that little thing there. And gradually, as I pulled it gently, you pull it tight, it would have broken, just very gently. And gradually it became loose. And then all of a sudden, the other knots started coming into line. They started twisting. And as I threaded through round, cross, all of a sudden there was one chain, and I was like, yes, I've done one chain, one chain. And then as I started loosening the others, especially the pendant one, because it was all clawed and caught a bit like this, it was all clawed up, it loosed. And I was like, yes, that's two. And then the next one was not the smallest, but the small, less small, and it had twisted around this tiny little chain and had caused such a knot that it was so tight. And eventually I just got my nails, which I did have last week, and I just gently pulled it and just gently eased it out, and eventually that chain came loose. Now the other one was like this one, where are we? Was just like, oh, probably come off now, this one, but it was very, very fine, so tiny. And I thought, my goodness me, how am I going to do this? And gradually and slowly, I just had to have patience. And that's the important thing, to have patience. And that's so important. And I just thought about how God is so patient with us. You know, time and time again, we go down these holes. We get ourselves stuck in a rut. We get ourselves in a pickle. We don't know which way to turn. Things come into our lives that would just bash us, and you just go, whoa, how do I deal with this? You know, I'll deal with it myself. I can deal with this, God. Don't worry about it. And God just sits back and says, okay, you carry on. And then we have to, He's so patient with us. He's so patient with us. And as we grow up and as we have children, we learn patience. We have to learn patience with the children. So much patience. And that's part of our job. And as we have grandchildren, exactly the same. And as we have great-grandchildren, exactly the same. And God is so gracious to us, and He patiently waits for us. He waits for us to pray and to speak to Him. He waits for us to read our Bible. He just waits for us. And even when we have problems with people, you know, we might have a problem with a friend or an acquaintance, and even that, God waits patient, says, I'm here, talk to me about it, talk to me about it. And God loves us. He loves us just with an ever-ending love. Sorry, I'm tongue-tied this morning a little bit. And He just loves us. And we have to have patience with our children. And we have to have patience with our friends. And we have to have patience with most people around. And in isolation, some people have to have patience with their husband, you know, because it's difficult, because you're around each other all the time. We've had no problems, but you do have to have patience, you know. And when we work from home, both of us together. We have to have patience with each other sometimes. You know, Derek might be on the phone all day long, and I have to have patience to say, well, when are you going to have some time with me? You know, and that's just what God says. When are you going to have some time with me? And it is so important just to have some time with the Lord. Well, have a lovely day, and take care, and see you soon.